Hello there, folks, and welcome back. For this lecture, I want to spend a brief time talking about monkeypox, since it is a current worldwide pandemic and relatively topical to what we're talking about. It's also a virus that is vastly different than the SARS-CoV-2, the COVID-19 virus that we talked about before. So I want to cover this one as well. So, monkeypox is a viral zoonotic disease, which is a virus that's transmitted to humans from animals, with symptoms similar to those seen in the past in smallpox patients, although it's clinically less severe, much less likely to die from monkeypox. With the eradication of smallpox in 1980 and subsequent cessation of smallpox vaccinations, monkeypox has emerged as the most important orthopox viruses for public health in recent times. Monkeypox primarily occurs in Central and West Africa, often in proximity to tropical rainforests, and has been increasingly appearing in urban areas. Animal hosts include a range of rodents and non-human primates. So, monkeypox virus is an enveloped, double-stranded DNA virus that belongs to the orthopoxvirus genus and the Poxviridae family. There are two distinct genetic clades of the monkeypox virus: the Central African Congo Basin clade and the West African clade. The Congo Basin clade has historically caused more severe disease and was thought to be more transmissible. The geographical division between the two clades has so far been in Cameroon, Africa, which is the only country where both virus clades have been found at the same time. Various animal species have been identified as susceptible to monkeypox virus. This includes rope squirrels, tree squirrels, Gambian pouched rats, dormice, and non-human primates and other species. Uncertainty remains on the natural history of monkeypox virus, and further studies are needed to identify the exact reservoirs and how virus circulation is maintained in nature. So, animal to human, or zoonotic transmission, can occur from direct contact with blood, bodily fluids, or cutaneous or mucosal lesions of infected animals. In Africa, evidence of monkeypox virus infection has been found in many animals, including rope squirrels, tree squirrels, Gambian pouched rats, dormice, different species of monkeys, and others. The natural reservoir for monkeypox has not been yet identified, though rodents are most likely. Eating inadequately cooked meat and other animal products of infected animals is possible as a risk factor, and people living near or in forested areas may have indirect or low-level exposure to infected animals. Human-to-human transmission can result from close contact with respiratory secretions, skin lesions of an infected person, or recently contaminated objects. Transmission via droplet respiratory particles usually requires prolonged face-to-face contact, which puts health workers, household members, and other close contacts of active cases at greater risk. However, the longest documented chain of transmission in a community that has risen in recent years is from 6 to 9 successive person-to-person interactions. This may reflect declining immunity in all communities due to the cessation of smallpox vaccinations. Transmission can also occur via the placenta from mother to fetus, which can lead to congenital monkeypox, or during close contact during or after birth. While close physical contact is a well-known risk factor for transmission, it's unclear at this time if monkeypox can be transmitted specifically through sexual transmission routes. Although with the recent upsurge in the pandemic that we're experiencing right now, people are looking a little bit closer at that possibility, but skin-to-skin contact seems to be the main one. So the incubation period, or the interval from infection to onset of symptoms of monkeypox, is usually from 6 to 13 days, but it can range anywhere from 5 to 21 days. The infection can be divided into two periods. The invasion period, which lasts about 0 to 5 days, characterized by fever, intense headaches, lymphadenopathy, which is a swelling of the lymph nodes, back pain, myalgia, or muscle aches, and intense asthenia, or lack of energy. Lymphadenopathy is a distinctive feature of monkeypox compared to other diseases that initially appear similar. Things like chickenpox, measles, and smallpox. The next phase is the skin eruption, and that usually begins within 1 to 3 days of appearance of the fever. The rash tends to be more concentrated on the face and extremities rather than the trunk, although it can appear anywhere on the body. It affects the face in 95% of the cases and palms of the hands and the soles of the feet in 75% of the cases. Also affected are the oral mucous membranes, found in 70% of the cases, the genitalia, 30% of the cases, the conjunctiva of the eye, 20% of the cases, as well as the cornea. The rash evolves sequentially from macules, which are lesions with a flat base, to papules, which are slightly raised, firm lesions, vesicles, lesions filled with a clear fluid, pustules, lesions filled with yellowish fluid, and crusts, which dry up and fall off. The number of lesions varies from a few to several thousand, and in severe cases, lesions can coalesce until large sections of skin slough off. Monkeypox is usually a self-limited disease with the symptoms lasting about 2 to 4 weeks. Cases can occur more commonly among children and are related to the extent of virus exposure, patient health status, and the nature of complications. Underlying immune deficiencies may also lead to worse outcomes. Although vaccination against smallpox was protective in the past, today people younger than 40 or 50 years old, depending on the country, may be more susceptible to monkeypox due to the cessation of smallpox vaccination campaigns globally after the eradication of the disease in 1980. Complications of monkeypox can include secondary infections, bronchopneumonia, sepsis, encephalitis, and infection of the cornea, which can lead to loss of vision. The extent to which asymptomatic infection may occur is unknown at this point. The case fatality ratio of monkeypox has historically ranged from 0 to 11% in the general population and has been higher among young children. In recent times, the case fatality ratio has been about 3 to 6%. The clinical differential diagnosis that must be considered includes other rash illnesses such as chickenpox, measles, bacterial skin infections, scabies, syphilis, and medication-associated allergies. The swelling of the lymph nodes during the prodromal stage of the illness can be a clinical feature to distinguish monkeypox from these others. If monkeypox is suspected, health workers should collect an appropriate sample and have it transported safely to a lab with appropriate capability of diagnosis. Confirmation of monkeypox depends on the type and the quality of the specimen and the type of laboratory test. Thus, specimens should be packaged and shipped in accordance with national and international requirements. PCR is the preferred laboratory test and gives accuracy and sensitivity to the diagnosis. For this, optimal diagnostic samples for monkeypox are from skin lesions. Clinical care for monkeypox should be fully optimized to alleviate symptoms, manage complications, and prevent long-term sequelae. Patients should be offered fluids and food to maintain adequate nutritional status. Secondary bacterial infections should be treated as indicated. An antiviral agent known as tecovirimat was developed for smallpox and licensed by the European Medicines Agency for monkeypox in 2022 based on data in animal and human studies. It's not yet widely available, though. If used for patient care, this antiviral should be ideally monitored in a clinical research context with prospective data collection in mind. Vaccination against smallpox was demonstrated through several observational studies to be about 85% effective in preventing monkeypox. Thus, prior smallpox vaccination may result in milder illnesses. Evidence of prior vaccination against smallpox can usually be found as a scar on the upper arm. At the present time, the original or first-generation smallpox vaccines are no longer available to the general public. Some laboratory personnel or health workers may have received a more recent smallpox vaccine to protect them in the event of exposure to orthopox viruses in the workplace. A still newer vaccine based on a modified attenuated vaccine virus was approved for the prevention of monkeypox in 2019. This is a 2-dose vaccine for which availability remains very limited. Smallpox and monkeypox vaccines are developed in formulations based on the vaccine virus due to cross-protection afforded for the immune responses to orthopox viruses. Raising awareness of risk factors and educating people about the measures that they can take to reduce exposure to the virus is the main prevention strategy for monkeypox. Scientific studies are now underway to assess the feasibility and the appropriateness of vaccination for the prevention and control of monkeypox outbreaks. Some countries have or are developing policies to offer vaccine to people who may be at risk, such as laboratory personnel, rapid response teams, and health workers. Reducing the risk of human-to-human transmission is key. Surveillance of rapid identification of new cases is critical for the outbreak containment. During human monkeypox outbreaks, close contact with the infected person is the most significant risk factor for the monkeypox virus infection. Health workers and household members are at greater risk of infection. Health workers caring for patients with suspected or confirmed monkeypox virus infections or handling specimens from them should implement standard infection control precautions. If possible, people that are previously vaccinated against smallpox should be selected to care for the patient. Samples taken from people and animals with suspected monkeypox virus infections should be handled by trained staff working in suitably equipped laboratories. Patient specimens must also be safely prepared for transport with triple packaging in accordance with WHO guidance for the transport of infectious substances. The identification in May 2022 of clusters of monkeypox cases in several non-endemic countries with no direct travel links to an endemic area is atypical. Further investigations are underway to determine the likely source of infection and limit further outward spread. As the source of this outbreak is being investigated, it's important to look at all possible modes of transmission in order to safeguard public health. Reducing the risk of zoonotic transmission is also very important. Over time, most human infections have resulted from primary animal-to-human transmission. Unprotected contact with wild animals, especially those that are sick or dead, including their meat, blood, and other parts, must be avoided. Additionally, all foods containing animal or meat parts must be thoroughly cooked before eating. Preventing monkeypox through restrictions on animal trade is also very important, as we learned in 2003 here in the United States. Some countries have put in place regulations restricting the importation of rodents and non-human primates. Captive animals that are potentially infected with monkeypox should be isolated from other animals and placed into immediate quarantine. Any animals that might have come in contact with an infected animal should be quarantined, handled with standard precautions, and observed for monkeypox symptoms for 30 days. So with regard to this first the past outbreaks that have happened, the human monkeypox was first identified in humans as in 1970 in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in a 9-month-old boy in a region where smallpox had been eliminated in 1968. Since then, most cases have been reported from rural rainforest regions of the Congo Basin, particularly in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and human cases have increasingly been reported from across Central and West Africa. Since 1970, human cases of monkeypox have been reported in 11 countries in Africa: Benin, Cameroon, Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Gabon, the Ivory Coast, Liberia, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and South Sudan. The true burden of monkeypox is not known. For example, in 1996-97, an outbreak was reported in the Democratic Republic of the Congo with a lower case fatality ratio and a higher attack rate than usual. A concurrent outbreak of chickenpox caused by the varicella virus, which is not an orthopox virus, and monkeypox was found, which could explain the real or apparent changes in transmission dynamics in this case. Since 2017, Nigeria has experienced a large outbreak with over 500 suspected cases and over 200 confirmed cases, although this pales in comparison to the numbers that we're seeing in the current worldwide outbreak. Monkeypox is a disease of global public health importance, as it's not only affecting countries in West and Central Africa, but the rest of the world as well. In 2003, the first monkeypox outbreak outside of Africa was in the United States of America, and it was linked to contact with infected pet prairie dogs. These pets had been housed with Gambian pouch rats and dormice that had been imported from the country of Ghana, and the outbreak led to over 70 cases of monkeypox in the U.S. Monkeypox has also been reported in travelers from Nigeria to Israel in September 2018, to the United Kingdom in September 2018, December 2019, and May 2021, May 2022, to Singapore in May 2019, and to the United States in July and November of 2021. In May of 2022, multiple cases of monkeypox were identified in several non-endemic countries, and studies are currently underway to figure out and understand the epidemiology sources of this infection and the transmission patterns. So, an ongoing outbreak of monkeypox was confirmed in May of 2022. The initial cluster of cases was found in the United Kingdom, where the first case was detected on May 6th. An individual with travel links to Nigeria, where the disease is endemic, was highlighted for this. The outbreak marked the first time monkeypox has spread widely outside of Central and West Africa. From May 18th onwards, cases were reported in increasing numbers of countries and regions, predominantly in Europe, but also North and South America, in Asia, Africa, and Oceania. On the 23rd of July, the Director General of the World Health Organization declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. As of September 15th of 2022, there has been a total of 61,331 cases confirmed in over 107 countries. In California here, we've had over 4,500 cases, and we currently sit at the very top of the numbers of cases reported in the United States at this time. So just to give you an overall view of the spread of the disease as of September 2022, which is the month that I'm recording this just a few days ago, you can see where the endemic areas are in purple here in the center of this map. And this is endemic clade 1, and then you have endemic clade 2 over here in Western Africa. And right in the middle there is where both clades are recorded. And then everything that you see in red is the clade 2 outbreak that's happened in 2022, with a few countries that have suspected cases but not confirmed. So looking at monkeypox cases here in the United States reported to the CDC and looking at the symptoms, this is really revealing about how the infection seems to be progressing in most folks. So 98% of folks have rashes, 76% experience fever, 68% enlarged lymph nodes, and so on. So you can see by looking at this that there are a lot of symptoms that folks are getting, and the highest ones are usually the ones that more people are experiencing. Just looking at the confirmed monkeypox cases per day in the United States, and this is as of September 15th, so just a few days before I'm recording this video, you can see that we're having these spikes. And most likely what's going on is these particular days themselves are not experiencing these huge spikes. More likely what's happening is hospitals wait a week to report cases, and so you're getting a larger number of cases on certain days of the week, which would prove out. Like if that wasn't the case, this would probably be a lot more even, but you can see the trend line, and we do seem to be trending downward at this point, which is encouraging. So I do have a video to show you. It kind of gives an overall view of the current status of things. So go ahead and watch this video and write down any notes that you may have that may be embedded in it.
I made a video covering monkeypox a few months ago during the early stages of the outbreak. However, much has changed since then. The number of cases has continued to increase beyond what many had anticipated, and the virus shows little sign of slowing down. Since that first video was released, a ton of new information and research has come out regarding the 2022 outbreak. Here's everything you need to know about monkeypox as of August 2022. What's going on, guys? For those of you who are new here, my name is Kevin Jabal, physician entrepreneur based in Las Vegas. This video is for informational purposes only. This is not medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. Consult your physician or medical professional for your health and safety. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the monkeypox situation, I'll give you the SparkNotes summary to catch you up to speed. Monkeypox is a disease caused by infection with the monkeypox virus. This virus belongs to the orthopox family of viruses, which include smallpox, vaccinia, and cowpox. Much like other viral illnesses, the first 1 to 3 days of illness are characterized by fever, chills, fatigue, headache, muscle aches, and swollen lymph nodes. After these first few days, however, infected individuals will start developing a rash that progresses from small flat lesions to large fluid-filled blisters. Over the span of the next few weeks, these blisters will drain, scab over, and eventually fall off. The disease is usually self-limiting, meaning that it usually goes away on its own and generally lasts anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks before subsiding. That being said, some individuals experience much more severe symptoms and develop more dangerous issues such as secondary infection, sepsis, and pneumonia, to name a few. Monkeypox was first discovered in the 1950s in colonies of research monkeys, hence the name monkeypox. The first human case was reported in 1970 in Africa, and the disease has remained largely endemic to the regions of Central Africa since then. Historically, monkeypox has been transmitted through contact with infected animals, with rodents being the most common vector for the disease. Human-to-human transmission was reported, however, it was uncommon and largely limited to those in close contact with infected individuals, and it would fizzle out quickly. That being said, this is not the pattern we are seeing in 2022. Instead, the virus is primarily being passed from human to human, and we're seeing much higher rates of transmission than we have in the past. Back in May of 2022, when I made my first video covering monkeypox, there were just over 100 reported cases spread out over 16 different countries. As of August 2022, however, there are now approximately 25,000 cases globally and nearly 6,000 cases in the US, according to the CDC. Despite the rapid increase in the number of cases, most individuals who contract the disease only experience mild symptoms. At the time of this recording, there have been only 10 deaths reported. Out of those 10 deaths, 6 occurred in Nigeria and Ghana, where the disease has been largely endemic since the 1970s. 2 occurred in Spain, which is home to Europe's largest outbreak. 1 occurred in Brazil, and 1 occurred in India, where the individual was believed to have contracted the virus while abroad. In response to the rapid increases in the number of cases, the World Health Organization has declared monkeypox a global health emergency and is calling for an international response to increase funding and collaboration on sharing vaccines and treatment. Given the rising number of cases in the US, 3 states have also declared a state of emergency over the monkeypox outbreak, namely California, Illinois, and New York. These 3 states, which are home to the 3 largest cities in the country, currently account for 47% of all confirmed monkeypox infections in the US. So, what has changed? Why are we seeing such a rapid increase in the number of cases now? The biggest concern is that the virus has changed so that it is more easily transmitted by humans. In my previous video, I discussed mutation rates for DNA viruses, such as monkeypox, and explained why these viruses are generally very slow to mutate. At that time, research regarding the genome of monkeypox was limited, and preliminary research had shown no unusual mutations. That being said, new research has come out since then that may suggest otherwise. According to an article published on May 30th, 2022 by the University of Edinburgh, genomic sequencing of the 2022 monkeypox virus compared to previous samples from 1971 and 2017 revealed significantly more mutations than expected. Previous research suggests that earlier strains of monkeypox had a mutation rate of about 1 to 2 nucleotide changes per year. With the newer 2022 strain, however, researchers at Edinburgh identified a total of 47 nucleotide substitutions compared to samples from just 3 to 4 years ago. And that's nearly 8 times the number of mutations we would expect to see during this time frame. Although monkeypox is a DNA virus that shouldn't mutate with such high frequency, 42 out of those 47 nucleotide substitutions that were identified appear to follow a pattern consistent with a particular family of proteins used by our immune system. In essence, the researchers suspect that these mutations are essentially battle scars left in the genome of the virus that were acquired while fighting the host's immune system. It's unclear whether these mutations confer some sort of advantage to the virus, such as increased transmissibility. However, it does appear that the virus has changed much more quickly than previously thought. This rapid increase in the mutation rate between 2017 and 2022 also suggests that these changes are the result of sustained human transmission, meaning that this current outbreak may not be as out of the blue as experts initially were thinking. But how could we have known about this? Well, according to an article published by The Atlantic, the warning signs were there. We just chose to ignore them. According to the article, doctors in Nigeria were dealing with an unusual cluster of monkeypox cases 5 years ago, similar to the ones that we are seeing today. Between 1978 and 2017, there were no reported cases of monkeypox in Nigeria. The disease was largely contained to Central Africa, whereas Nigeria is far to the west. In 2017, however, Nigeria identified their first case of monkeypox in nearly 40 years. Over the next 5 years, between 2017 and 2022, there would be an additional 500 confirmed monkeypox cases in Nigeria. What was particularly odd about these cases is that they followed an atypical pattern of transmission. First of all, transmission seemed to be occurring primarily through human-to-human contact, whereas previously it was mostly animal-to-human. In addition, most of the patients were men, and many had genital lesions, which suggested sexual transmission. Fast forward to today, and this is the same pattern we are seeing across the globe. Although current research suggests that monkeypox is not sexually transmitted, it's thought to occur through close physical contact with an infected individual, which occurs during intercourse. In addition, according to the WHO, approximately 99% of monkeypox cases as of June 2022 were reported in men, most of whom self-identified as men who have sex with other men. As such, many feel that we missed clear warning signs of a monkeypox outbreak by ignoring the situation in Nigeria. Only now that we're seeing cases outside of Africa in more wealthy countries are we seeing a shift in attention. Had attention been brought to this earlier, research could have been done to help prevent the spread of monkeypox. As always though, hindsight is 2020. Although it's important for World Health leaders to understand the warning signs and how something like this could have been avoided, at the individual level, our focus is much better spent on what we can do now instead of what should have been done previously. So let's talk about how you can protect yourself from monkeypox. Although monkeypox is largely contained to men at this time, more specifically men who have sex with men, that doesn't mean you can't get it if you aren't in this population. Monkeypox is spread through close skin-to-skin contact with infected individuals or contact with fomites. Fomites are items that can carry infection like clothes, towels, bedding, and eating utensils. Anyone can become infected with monkeypox if they are exposed to the virus. That being said, if you are in a high-risk population, you should take extra precautions to avoid becoming infected. Avoid close skin-to-skin contact with people who have had a rash that looks like monkeypox, as well as objects and materials that a person with monkeypox has used. In addition, you should wash your hands often with soap and water, or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer, especially before eating or touching your face and after you use the bathroom. The CDC also recommends that individuals who are at high risk for exposure get vaccinated. This includes individuals at high risk for a recent exposure to monkeypox, as well as clinical laboratory personnel and research lab workers who directly handle virus samples or animals contaminated with orthopox viruses. As I mentioned in my previous video, because the monkeypox virus is in the same family of viruses as smallpox, we already have effective vaccines that protect against it. According to the CDC, past data from Africa suggests that the smallpox vaccine is at least 85% effective in preventing monkeypox. Vaccination within 4 days of an exposure may help prevent the onset of monkeypox, and vaccination within 4 to 14 days of an exposure may reduce the severity and duration of the disease. There are currently 2 types of vaccines available: ACAM2000 and Jynneos. ACAM2000 is a second-generation smallpox vaccine that uses live vaccinia virus. This virus is able to replicate within the body. For this reason, a lesion will develop at the site of injection after a successful inoculation. This is known as a take. It should be noted that because this vaccine uses a live virus capable of replicating, there is a small chance of adverse effects compared to killed or inactivated vaccines that have the antigens to stimulate an immune response but no capacity to replicate. As such, it should not be used in patients who are pregnant, have a weakened immune system, or have certain skin conditions. Jynneos is a newer vaccine that uses a live attenuated virus, which is a weakened virus with lower risk of adverse effects, yet similar efficacy to ACAM2000. ACAM2000 is given in a single dose, whereas Jynneos vaccine is delivered in 2 doses 28 days apart. In addition to vaccination, the antiviral medication tecovirimat, also known as TPOXX, has been approved for use in patients with severe disease or who are at high risk for severe disease. According to the CDC, this currently includes patients experiencing hemorrhagic disease, sepsis, encephalitis, or other conditions requiring hospitalization, as well as patients who are immunocompromised, pregnant, have history of certain skin conditions, or have infection involving high-risk areas such as the eyes, mouth, and other anatomical regions. Although the growing number of cases is alarming, and measures should be taken at a national and global level to help mitigate its spread, we do have a variety of tools at our disposal to help treat monkeypox and control its spread. If you're experiencing symptoms that are concerning for monkeypox, including fever, headache, muscle aches, swollen lymph nodes, respiratory symptoms, and especially a painful or itchy rash that looks like pimples or blisters, the latest recommendations from the CDC as of August 1st, 2022 are to isolate at home and stay away from others unless you are experiencing an emergency or need to see a healthcare provider. If you do have to leave the home, it is recommended that you cover the lesions, wear a well-fitting mask, and avoid taking public transportation to further prevent the spread of the disease. And that is everything you need to know about monkeypox as of August 2022. As the monkeypox situation continues to unfold, there will undoubtedly be new developments and new research that comes out. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, let me know with a comment below. Also, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future updates. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my previous video covering monkeypox or this other video. Much love, and I'll see you guys there.